Welcome back to Math 103. This is the first video on fair division. As a warm-up for this topic, suppose that you and I have a chocolate cake with vanilla icing to divide between the two of us. We have equal claims to it, so what do? The usual answer is, well, just divide it in half. People often give that answer as if it were completely obvious. But it's not entirely clear what that statement even means, or if it's the best thing to do. Let's now compare two proposals for how the cake division could turn out. One is that, quote, you get 70% of the cake and I get 70% of the cake. Okay, let that sink in for a moment. The other proposal is, you get 70% of the value of the cake while I get 70% of the value of the cake. At first glance, these might seem to be saying the same thing, and they might seem equally ludicrous, but let's discuss them in turn. So first, you get 70% of the cake, while I get 70% of the cake. Well, the trouble with that is that there's only 100% of the cake to split between the two of us. There are only 100 percentage points worth of cake to split between the two of us. So if you're proposing that we cut in such a way that, for example, all of this goes to you, and say that's 70% of the cake, and the rest goes to me, okay, so this and this remaining slice here, and say that's only 30% of the actual volume of cake, well, then that's going to be a problem. I will object. And similarly, if we do it the other way around, that I get this piece and you're left with that, you would object. It would seem, by that insight of just cut it in half, that we should be cutting exactly like so. So all of this is going to be for one person, and the remaining half of the cake is going to be for the other person. There is a certain insight that, of course, that's what you do to divide fairly between two people who have equal claims. But let's look at this second description of how the division might turn out. So you get 70% of the value of the cake, while I get 70% of the value of the cake. So the crucial point for this entire subject is that this is not an impossibility at all. This can actually be achieved. What we mean here by value is value to you as opposed to value to me. You could get 70% of what the whole cake is worth to you, and I could get 70% of what the whole cake is worth to me. So how could that happen? Suppose, for example, that you like the icing. You really like icing. And I find icing disgusting. I just can't even contemplate it. It's just all a bit too much. But I really like this chocolate part. Okay, so what can we do? It does take quite a bit more work than just the slice once down the middle approach, but if we cut each slice of cake somewhat like so that all the icing together with some of the chocolate part goes to you, and all of the rest, which is to say most of the chocolate part, goes to me, then I'm happy and you're happy. Right? Since you love the icing so much, you're much happier with this arrangement than you would have been under the slice once down the middle approach. And since I can't stand icing, but I really like the chocolate part, I'm much happier with this approach than with the slice once down the middle approach. So we're both coming out ahead. In particular, you're getting more than 50% of the value of the entire cake. And I'm getting more than 50% of the value of the entire cake, where when I talk about the value of the entire cake, I mean from my own point of view. To make this even more concrete, suppose that we each contributed $5 to buy this $10 cake, and we made this agreement where you got all this icing part and I got all this chocolate part, and at the end of the day, each of us is thinking, wow, I got a really good deal. I only paid $5, but the part that I got is actually worth more like $7 to me. Right? So I'm thinking, well, I got the part that was worth, say, $7 to me. I didn't really care as much about the part that I'm giving up to you, and you're thinking exactly the same thought. You're thinking, wow, I got all this icing, and yeah, okay, so I gave up some chocolate cake part, but I got all the icing. So you're thinking, wow, this is worth $7 to me. So each of us could individually be thinking, quote, I got $7 worth for my $5 investment. Right? There's no contradiction there, because my value system and your value system when it comes to cake are not the same. This is really a crucial point, and it will be with us throughout the chapter. Right? The notion that you're getting 70% of the value of the cake, and that always means as you measure it, while I simultaneously get 70% of the value of the cake, and that means as I measure its value. So throughout this chapter, we're going to be talking about people who have a certain evaluation of the stuff that's being divided up, and each person has their own way of evaluating the goods. Right? So the conclusion is that what matters is what fraction or percentage of the value of the goods that you receive measured according to how you evaluate them. Please go on to the next video.